Hey, what up, guys? Welcome to Just for Fun, or welcome back if you've been with us. Thanks, props to all the subscribers. Shout out all the frequent commenters: Eichel Tubular, Steelman Red, Dan Acton, Jordan, if you're out there. Everybody watching, mad props. Now, this is Mono White Enchantments in Standard. This deck is fun. I would not call this a competitive deck, but it is really a blast to play, and you can do some stupid things. And in the videos, you'll see me do stupid things like like make 3 angels in a shot, or turn my whole board into creatures and attack out of nowhere with haste for lethal. So deck is fun. Deck does stupid things. Myth realized. We'll go along the curve here. We're sorted by curve. Usually I sort by what the cards do. I can do that real quick while I'm talking. This deck, somebody I played against was playing a very similar kind of thing, and I sort of tweaked it a little bit to make it my own. But then yeah, then I kept it. It's pretty limited as to what you can do with it. So here's how it works. Basically, these things are your, okay, so first column, 11 column here is your win conditions. So Myth Realized grows for, there are 0 creature spells in the deck. So all of your 35 other cards or whatever pump this every time you cast them. So this guy grows every turn. He's always an on-turn threat. He's a thing you can play on turn 1 that will eventually be something your opponent has to deal with, and that's very powerful. Also is a great mana sink. So if you whiff on lands, you can pump it up as you go. It's just all around really good, and you can, if you play it correctly, you can avoid losing it to sorcery speed, creature removal, so that's nice. It is vulnerable to enchantment removal, but so is your entire deck. So if your opponent is holding like a naturalize, they're gonna have a hard time picking what to target with that. So not that bad. Yeah, and it also, if opponent taps out and attacks, it can become an instant speed surprise blocker. It's not a surprise because it's an on-board trick, but people sleep on it all the time, myself included. So definitely a great card in the deck. Threw in a Mastery of the Unseen as an additional win condition, just something else to try out. It's a nice low curve card to play. Again, that's a good mana sink, and again, that's a good late game threat, if you need it to be. So kind of cool card there. We've got 3 Sigil of the Empty Throne. This card, if you can get it going, it's just beyond insane. The inevitability of the card is really impressive as a 5 mana card. Now, the downside is it's a 5 mana enchantment that does 0 the turn you play it. So that's, you're time walking yourself on turn 5 in order to make all your future turns more valuable. So it is kind of, that's the downside to the card. If it were that you get your first angel when you cast it, the card would be insanely good. It would be so good. But but since you don't, it's something to keep in mind. Also, sequencing, you have to keep in mind with this card that you kind of want to play it before you start playing other things. But if you're already behind, taking a turn off, that's the other the downside is tempo, really. But the power level is really high, so I enjoy the card. It's a fun card to play with. Now, the reason why all of our cards are enchantments is Starfield of Nyx. How this works is, you can keep getting back enchantments that have been removed, which is not really that relevant depending on how often you're trading off with your light forms. But yeah, if you have, I'll go over that more in a second. But this is also doubles as a win condition. You play this, and let's say you have already 4 other enchantments, they'll all come to life and smash your opponent, out of nowhere, especially if they're tapping out to attack you, or if you've tapped all their stuff down and removed all their stuff. This becomes a really nice, quick way to finish off a game. So I love this card. I think it's so much fun to play with. So these 17 cards in this column are removal. This is your so creatures are not really a problem. The only time it gets really hard is if your opponent is going wide. So you'll see in one of the matches we played against Thopter token deck, and we had a really hard time with that deck because once they get off the ground, they're making too many threats for you to remove one at a time. But just a variety of enchantment-based removal spells, you guys. And if you're watching this, you know what all these cards do. Stasis Snare is one of the standouts because it's instant speed. Quarantine Field, big props to this card. I think this card is a lot of fun. I definitely want to play it in Modern in a Devotion Shell, where you can make busted amounts of mana, because I think the bigger you go with this, the more entertaining it gets. These cards are your stall cards, basically, where you're stalling until you get the right removal card, or you're stalling till you can just win. So Light Form is there just to gain you life, block things, chump for days, and then be returned with Starfield of Nyx. That's really all it's there for: gain life and block and be dumb. Citadel Siege. 99 out of 100 times in this deck, you're casting it under dragons. You don't have creatures to put counters on, except if you have angel tokens, and then you're probably winning anyway. And dragons is going to tap down 1 creature every turn, making it a lot, especially if you keep 1-for-1ing them. And it makes it so they have to have at least 2 things on the board to hurt you at all. And they stack really well. Plus, it becomes a 4/4 with Starfield of Nyx, which is really, really great. The mana base I keep messing with right now, I just have 24 planes and 2 majoring networks. Before, I was playing 7 fetches just to thin as we go, so you don't flood out. But I ended up constantly getting mana screwed with this deck, so I changed it up, and it seems to be more even now. Plus, there's plenty of mana sinks, so I guess getting flooded isn't as big of a deal as I thought it was. Anyway, I had a lot of fun playing with this deck, and we do some stupid things in the matches. I hope you enjoy watching. Peace.